This is The A. I'm Reg Clay.
And Norman G.
This is The A, where we talk about life in the theater and the theater of life.
Yay!
As always, we are sponsored by Central Works, a new play theater headed up by Gary Graves and Jan Zleifler. Central Works, reinventing theater one play at a time. And we want to thank Central Works for sponsoring The A. We have a wonderful, this is week 2 of our Love in the Theater segment of The A, and we have a wonderful couple, a couple that is so near and dear to my heart, Karin and Jon Richey of Plethos Productions. How are you guys doing?
Hello, thank you so much for having us.
Right on. And the last time I saw you, you had the FAMI Awards, and there were so many individuals who won, and I was so happy to have see Curtis Manning, as well as a bunch of other folks when he won for playing James Baldwin in the play that I wrote, Foreman in Paris. And Plethos has done so much to uplifting, people and getting new content in and giving actors, just a way of, expressing themselves. And you guys are doing so well. So how are you doing? How's Plethos doing?
Thank you. Yeah, we're doing good. And, we were so happy to put on Four Men in Paris. And unfortunately, that's been the only original work we've gotten to do on a main stage level. And so we were just so blown away by that play. And I'm really still hoping that we can find some more original works to produce in the future. I've been reading lots of scripts. I just haven't found one as magical as yours, Reg. So but I'm hoping I will find one and we can put it on. But we've been doing well. We just announced our 4th season. So 2021 will be our 4th season of shows.
Yeah, you're doing something for the kids, right?
That's right.
Yeah, talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's our first time doing a children's show. We're based here in Castro Valley. We take our show on the road throughout the 5 cities that border this area, like Hayward, Castro Valley, East Bay type places. And typically there's a ton of children's theater. There's after school programs, there's in-school drama. Bay Area Children's Theater has a great presence at all the local schools. So we always felt like we didn't need to do a children's show. There were so many opportunities already. But now, we have an 8 and a 10-year-old who've been stuck indoors for a year, and there is nothing going on, nothing for them to watch or participate in or anything like that when it comes to theater. So we thought, if there was ever a time to do a children's show, now is probably that time. So this summer we'll be doing Elephant and Piggie, We Are in a Play by Mo Willems. So really excited about that musical, and we'll plan on it being outdoor, social distanced, hopefully live with audience members in pods watching. But if not, at a bare minimum, we'll stream it. So we made sure to choose shows that are flexible for live performances or streaming. So.
Yeah, and we'll definitely advertise that. I think that's a fantastic idea. And why not? I mean, we can't have, just television and whatever the content is on YouTube supplying entertainment for the kids. We can create that content ourselves. And so I think that's fantastic for Plethos to do that. And as we begin our podcast, every podcast I ask, Norman, how was your week?
It's been a week. I don't know. It feels like a lot of things are it's as we head into spring, all kinds of projects are starting or getting ready to start. And I just feel like I've got I feel like I don't have anything to do, and then I do.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That's been that week for me.
It's pre-Valentine's Day. Do either of you have any plans? Both of you are married couples. Married individuals. Anything planned?
We've got my stepdaughter's coming today, actually. And we have another stepdaughter who lives in Texas who came out for her sister's birthday. So we are actually going to be hosting a little group out in the backyard.
Oh, that'll be nice. What about the Richeys? Yeah. What are you guys doing for V-Day?
So we have a friend, a couple friend, married a husband and wife who we've been social bubbling with pretty much since the top of the pandemic. And so we'll be meeting up with them tomorrow. We're just going to kind of wander and explore whatever outdoor dining might hold for us. So yeah,
that'll be nice. That'll be really, really nice. There have been some current events. Obviously, we have the second impeachment going on. As a matter of fact, it's going on as we speak. But there have been also things non-political. I don't know how political we want to be, but sometimes I try to throw in things that are sort of amusements. There's a Florida water hacking incident that happened in Oldsmar, Florida. I don't know if you heard about that. Apparently,
water hacking?
Someone hacked in the water supply, and apparently, I guess, Lye is used, Lye is used to clean water, and someone, and you can control it remotely. Some malevolent individual tried to raise the level so much that if people actually had drank it, they would have died. Luckily, it was caught in time. And it's just one of those things where, we think that we are secure digitally and, we do all sorts of transactions, but we're so vulnerable. So that was interesting. Luckily, they caught the individual. Well, they caught the incident in time. They're still looking for the individual. So
let me guess, Florida man. It's always Florida man. Florida man. Always Florida man.
Is there a Florida man? I don't know about Florida man.
Yes. Florida man found doing this. Florida man poisoned the water for no kind of reason. Florida man.
There's pretty much a thing that you can do on Google where if you just type in Florida man and then any date.
Because some random Florida man did something crazy. Yeah, Florida man ate somebody's face off. And
all the weird stories.
They always begin with
Florida man somewhere in the headlines.
But it's crazy because this is the plot of, I don't know if you're a Batman fan, but Batman Begins, the first Christopher Nolan flick. That was right. Ra's al Ghul. Yeah, oh, Lord. In any case, Aunt Jemima is no more. You've probably heard about this.
I know.
Oh, what? You miss Aunt Jemima?
No, they changed the name, and I thought, oh, cool. They got the name of the woman who actually created the character. That would have been cool. No. They just retired the whole thing and started with some whole generic name.
Pearl Milling Company. Apparently, I guess it's the original company that created Aunt Jemima. But you're absolutely right. That would have, why would I buy something? Why would I buy a Pearl Milling Company? You send your kid to the store, go get me an Aunt Jemima, baking mix. But you can't do that anymore. Anyway, is it progress? Maybe. Who knows? Whatever. There's a new,
hard to tell.
There's an app called Clubhouse. Yes. I think you may have heard about this, Karin. I guess it's the new thing.
Yep.
What?
Apparently, there's a social app. It reminds me so much of back in the early aughts, where you could post the chat rooms. But basically, it was all just text. This is sort of a chat room, but it's all just it's like a party line. It's like a phone party line.
Yep.
And you can log in. You have to be invited first, and it's supposed to be based on a certain subject matter or whatever. Right. So who knows if it'll be the new big thing or if it's just it'll flame in and flame out. It got news on the Washington Post, so we'll see.
I know Elon and Zuckerberg, a bunch of the big tech guys are all on Clubhouse now. And I work for a tech company, so they had all of us join so that we could kind of scope it out and see what it's all about. It definitely gives me the mid-90s vibes. It's totally the party line. It's just hop in on your phone, listening into conversations, That's
So we'll see. And then there's Gorilla Glue Girl. Have you heard about
that? Oh, please. Must we? Oh, God.
We haven't talked so much. We've talked about women's issues, but there's been a thing about Black women's hair and how sensitive that is. We did mention about the Democratic. I think she's a member of the House of Representatives.
Yeah, Ayanna Pressley.
And she has a disease where her hair is gone, and she talked about how she was conflicted by, removing the wig and all of that stuff and just showing her true self. I felt so bad about the girl. It's funny, but it's not so funny. To make a long story short, she grabbed a product that she thought was a hair product, but it really is actual glue.
No, she knew it was not a hair product.
She knew there was no accident
about it.
She
thought it was similar enough to what she was using that maybe it would be a good substitute.
Oh, goodness. And
her Instagram video, she's like, I ran out of hairspray, but I had this Gorilla Glue spray. So, I thought it would be about the same. And I read it and it didn't say it wasn't for hair. So
damn.
It's crazy. And luckily, of course, it's one of those things you put something out on the internet and the internet responds, and she got the treatment. I guess she was flown to LA. She's from Louisiana. They flew her to LA and took care of the hair product. And I guess she'll grow her hair back. So I guess it was an interesting story. And
that was a weird one. You talked about Florida man. What about Wisconsin man?
Oh, tell me about that. I don't know about that.
This guy went up on an overpass, went up on a snowbank and up over, and 70-foot drop.
Oh my God! Did he? Is he dead? Is he alive?
No, so if this was his vehicle, boom, 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 he went sloop, and it fell this way and still landed on its tires. He ended up with broke ribs and I think a broke arm, something like that. But
Wow.
And a ride of a lifetime.
Wow. Jeez. I didn't hear about that. And the last thing that I have, Utah school allows parents to opt out of Black History Month. Did you hear about
Right.
that?
I did, yeah.
And
We're going to
hey,
start selecting our histories, huh?
it's crazy. It's crazy. So those are the current events. I don't know if any.
Well, you missed the big trial, man. You didn't see the Texas trial
Oh,
where the
tell me about
lawyer
this.
showed up and it was a kitten?
Oh, yeah. That was
Oh,
Yes.
great.
right.
Oh my God. And he can't turn it off. So he's like, no, Your Honor, I am here. I am not a kitten.
Oh my
I am
goodness.
not a cat.
Oh goodness, that was so funny. Before we get
So
into
great.
an origin story, do we have any thoughts on, I guess, this, what's happening in Washington right now? The one thing that I learned about the Breitenberg Test. We've talked about, what is free speech and what is a hate speech,
Right.
and we're getting a bit of a civics lesson as to, what the Breitenberg Test, Breitenberg v. I think it's be Ohio, I think. Basically, in 1969, Ku Klux Klan member gives a speech, and he is sued by a newspaper. And basically, he is convicted, but the Supreme Court overturns it, basically saying the definition of what is a hate speech or what is a criminal hate speech has not been defined. So let's define it right now. And it's based on basically 3 criteria. One is intent. You have to intend to do it. 2, imminence, the time between you saying it and the actual illegal act of the rioters. And the third thing, the likelihood of violence. So that was a interesting civics lesson that I learned that I hadn't learned beforehand. Any thoughts about it at all? Or, we can jump in, or any thoughts at all about it?
Lots of thoughts about it. It's another crazy TV show. I think we all want it over.
Yeah, I'm definitely on hashtag make politics boring again. I'm
Yes,
so over
please.
it. Like, I'm just ready for nice, boring politics as it always was, dry and uneventful. Because man,
I do wonder what parents tell their kids if their kids are interested. I know when I was a kid, I first got involved in politics in 1976 when I was 7 years old, and it was during the bicentennial. And I asked my parents, hey, what is this bicentennial and what's going on? And I got a bit of a history lesson. Have there been any conversations between you and your kids? Are they asking any questions at all?
Yeah, mine definitely have. Like, our kids, they knew that something had happened at the Capitol. And I think my daughter put it quite succinctly when, I kind of gave her the very quick details of, people are upset about the election. And so that's why this happened. And her response was, well, they need to build a bridge and get over it. Like,
wow.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I hear that.
Does Biden have any more cabinet positions open? I think we got to implement.
Maybe. I wonder if that comes from her, if she gets that from her mother or from her dad. I don't know.
I don't know about that one.
I'd say.
But there's a lot of sass in our house, so who knows? It could come from anywhere.
Any last thoughts, John, before we get into an origin story?
I mean, as it pertains to as essentially the impeachment thing, I think we need to be careful lowering any bars about what is and is not free speech. I think that's I think setting a standard as visible as something in an impeachment of a lowering of the standard for restricted speech is something that we should be extremely cautious of.
Well, I hope they are.
I totally hear you. And with that, let's get into an origin story. Karin and Jon Richey, if you've listened to the Yay, episode 50, which was done the very first day of 2018, is when we had Karin on, and you talked a little bit about how I think you and John met at 3 churches. Was it 3 churches or was it school?
So we currently go to
3 crosses. I'm sorry, 3 crosses.
Yeah, we currently go to 3 crosses, but we actually did meet at church way back when in Union City, a tiny little church called Hillview Baptist. That's where my family had gone for a couple of generations, and his family went. And it's so tiny that the church is essentially like 5 families that they're extended cousins and aunts and uncles, and that's pretty much it. One family was mine. One family was his. I like to say we're as close to an arranged marriage as you can get in the Bay Area. Like that's kind of
how fun. And I remember you were telling me, you were telling us, you would, ride your bike to, his house or whatever. I mean, you guys were really just grew up together. I mean, usually a lot of couples, they meet as adults. But you guys really, I mean, it sounds like you were almost bonded together from the very beginning. Is that true?
That was it. Yep.
I mean, so much so that we're kind of boring in the sense that, you know, a lot of couples have like these really neat and elaborate how they met stories.
Mm-hmm.
We don't remember.
We don't remember meeting.
We don't remember. You don't recall the exact date that
No.
or
Right.
occasion that we first came in contact with each other. And so,
Yeah, kids don't do that. Kids don't like, hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Like I was in third grade when his family moved to our church.
Yeah.
And I know at some point we started doing plays together. That's the earliest memory I have, was like, I remember being in fifth grade and being in a play with him. And that's all I remember. But
You
there was
guys are
never
doing plays together in elementary school. It's amazing.
Yep. So I think I was.
Do you
yeah, I
remember
was
what
in elementary
show?
school. Well, they were with our church, so they were just like little skits and
Church
things like
skits.
that. Church skits is what we
Okay.
would do together. Yeah, so that's like our vacation Bible school. They would send out these scripts to all the churches in the country, and everyone would be putting on the same little plays at the same time during the summer. That's the earliest memory I have. And then so we kind of started doing the plays together, and then eventually started directing the plays, and then started writing them. And then next thing we know, like it hit over the course of years. By the time I got to 10th grade, it had already been several years that we'd been writing and directing and producing stuff together. We became the like go-to people, even though we were, you know, kids, but for a small church, they're like, oh yeah, Karin and Jon, that's their thing. They put it on. So talk to them, they'll make it happen, you know?
And people naturally assume that the two of you were together, and you were like, no, we're just friends. But eventually it did become a romantic thing, right?
That's right. That's right.
By now, I would hope. They're two kids. I mean,
I mean, you say romantic. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
We know your origin story, Karin, because you told us, you know, on the last episode. How about you,
wait a
Jon?
minute, we get a John origin story?
Sure, why not?
Yes!
How did you get involved in theater? I mean, just tell us your origins.
So I kind of just fell into theater a little bit. I've always been interested in just stories.
Were you born and raised here in the Bay Area?
So I was raised I grew up in Union City.
Hey.
So yeah, I've been a lifer in the East Bay.
Mm-hmm.
I was just, even as a kid, I was always just interested in human stories, in various mythologies from all over the world, various cultures. I mean, by like the fourth grade, I pretty much had a pretty good understanding of the Greek and Roman mythological pantheon, and it started expanding into Norse mythologies, and then getting into some of the Eastern mythologies as well, and just kind of I was just really interested in kind of these stories that kind of unite us as people across the world. You see the same themes, you see the same characters, you see the same arcs written in these stories thousands of years ago by cultures that never touched each other. And it was just like, it was something that was fascinating to me, even from a young age. And that kind of branched into theater, because theater is just it's a very effective way of telling stories. And a lot of these stories were actually transmitted by theater. If it weren't for them being converted into plays, some of them would not have survived.
Right.
And I was just going to say, when you mentioned Greek and Roman mythology, I mean, there were the Greeks and the Romans. That's how theater began, because, you know, you had these festivals, rituals that celebrated the gods. And
right.
Dionysus, you know, the god of fertility, they had plays, or
Yep.
I don't know if they knew it was called plays. And the first actor, Thespis.
Oh, they did. Yeah.
So it's interesting how, you know, the two connect together. But how did you finish, I'm sure you're getting from there to when you met Karin.
Yeah, so that would have been fifth grade, was when we started attending that church, and I had never really had any opportunities for any sort of interactions with theater. I mean, I'd seen some plays on like field trips and things like that, but it was really kind of my first chance to be involved with something, especially because if you're attending that church, you're volunteering to do something on some capacity. You weren't allowed not to. It was too small of a church, and it was one of those things where it was a community effort to make everything happen. And so I just started getting involved in doing church skit stuff. She was already active in that, so that would have likely been. I mean, that would have been the origin of our interactions. Really, was doing things like that. I kind of left it at just church skit kind of stuff until I was in high school. I decided to audition for a play in high school. It was Romeo and Juliet, my freshman year, and I didn't really think too much of it. I'd never actually I'd never acted in like a what I would call a real play up to that point. It was just kind of to familiarize myself with that experience and also kind of learn more about. At that point, I'd already been, doing directing and casting and acting in church skits and everything. I was just like, well, what is this really about? And I got cast in the play. And
what were you?
I was like 4 different extras because there's a bunch of extras in Romeo. Romeo and Juliet is such a large cast show.
Right.
There's just people standing around everywhere. I was in the opening fight scene.
You were one of the servants?
Yeah.
Yay!
So I was in the opening fight scene, which was absolutely insane. This is my first show, and our director of that high school, a man I just have a tremendous amount of respect for. He's really what pushed me to kind of do this long term. But he used to do shows in New York on Broadway and off Broadway, and so he's got all these contacts there. And one of them is a professional fight choreographer that he's real good friends with. And so he brought him in, and so we had a professional fight choreographer choreograph the opening fight scene for Romeo and Juliet, and it was absolutely it would have been insane for like a college or for a community theater to put this on, and this was high school. I actually had an acrobatic aerial move where we had a platform that went up 6 feet, and I actually had basically doing stunt work in my first show ever, where I actually jumped off of the 6-foot platform into a group of people who caught me, and then we all fell down.
I'm amazed the principal allowed that to happen. I don't think of lawsuits, but hey, you guys had fun.
So our theater director, he was a bit of a one-man crew, so he had a lot of autonomy because he was going to be able to get a lot of stuff done. But it was one of those things where they kind of just let him do his thing.
Right.
And yeah, there were some
pushback.
No, there were some things that happened in the rehearsals for that stuff. There was a few injuries in rehearsing that fight scene. But
if you're jumping off platforms,
yeah. Lucian Vinci was our director at Logan Drama, and he's been a huge supporter of Plethos, and over the years we've kept in touch with him and his wife, and but yeah, he directed us both in shows throughout our time at Logan and was a huge inspiration.
Yeah, I mean he's really a large part of where the passion for theater came from. I had an interest in theater before I met him. It was really him that fostered a passion for theater in me. I learned a lot about theater, the history and the functions of theater throughout human cultures and that kind of stuff. And it's a fascinating art form. The more I interact with it, the more I learn about it. It's just something that it's the living, breathing, 3-dimensional, fully immersive representation of the human condition. There's no substitute for it. It's like looking at a painting and a sculpture and hearing a radio broadcast all at the same time, and it's moving and it's breathing and it's people, and it's a wonderful art form that I'm in love with.
Yeah, I was going to, as you were talking about your teacher, I recently, about a couple of weeks ago, our high school teacher, Donald Lease, that's how I know about Thespis. And, the origins of theater history from him, and he inspired all of us. And it's all wonderful to hear teachers who, because students, they're like, oh my God, I got to go to school again and listen to these boring stuff. But then again, you have a teacher that just inspires you, and you want to run to school and you want to learn as much as you can. And you realize there's a fire that's lit in you and it doesn't go away. And it's inspiring to hear that. And Norman, I'm sure, when you've taught, whether it be at Each One Reach One or other areas, you realize that once you teach these kids, you can light a fire in them and you can inspire them.
There's always something you can do, but it's my theater teacher is on Facebook, and he rarely posts, he rarely responds to anything, but it's just neat to see his name come up every now and then. And whenever I'm doing a show or something, I'm always happy to, throw out that thank you so much. I wouldn't be doing this because if it weren't for you. And I can't imagine what that feels like. I'm seeing bits and pieces of it, but I always end up feeling like I'm sort of in competition. If somebody gets a gig and I don't get the gig, I'm like, wait a minute, how come they?
See, you inspired them so much. They're getting gigs. They're getting jobs.
It's great to see. It's you can't help but be a little proud.
Yeah, I did have a question for the both of you. When I tell people about, because we're talking about love in the theater, but there's three types of love. There's agape, the love of God. There's platonic, Plethos, I forget what they call it, the love of man, and of course eros, the love of intimate love. But I got involved in theater the same way that both of you did, through the church. It was the church ladies writing up these plays and getting kids to be inspired by public speaking, and also by the love of God. We were teaching stories about, the birth of Jesus Christ and the crucifixion and the apostles and all of that sort of stuff to root us into our connection with God. And, as an actor and as someone involved in the theater community, a lot of times I don't bring up my faith because there are a lot of folks in the theater community who have a community that doesn't push them away, or they don't, make choices. I'm being inarticulate, but a lot of them, church can push them away because, let's say, they're gay or lesbian or transgendered, or, they're of a particular group that are ostracized. But theater, I guess I want you guys to talk about, you not only have a love for each other and the love of theater, but you have a love of God. And I think the three crosses and the fact that both of you are so, are connected in your faith, that's the thing that also binds the two of you together. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I said, we're coming up on 14 years of marriage this summer. And numerous times, especially at the beginning of our marriage, I've said, I don't know how people who don't have some kind of faith component to their marriage, I don't know how they do it, because it's so hard. Like, there's so much selfishness. There's so much like inward, like, I think our community, our country, our world, our society makes us feel like, well, if at any point you're not having fun, then it's not worth doing. Or if it's not working for you, then, go find someone who is. And there's just, but I think it's just so the opposite of what we learn in the Bible, what we learn at church, and what we learn from our fellow church community, where the commitment is serious, and the commitment is not just commitment to one another, but it is a commitment that you're making with God as well. And I think that whole trifecta of commitment is what has really been central for us. It's, when he's making me mad, I'll take it up with God. And, that's kind of the way that, there's a rootedness there beyond just like, well, am I happy? Are you happy? Yes, no, because from day to day, year to year, season to season, there's going to be times where it's going to be difficult, and it's going to be like, I'd be better single or whatever. But that faith component, I think, has been a huge part of letting us know that there's something beyond just my happiness, his happiness. There's so much more to marriage and a life commitment.
Yeah, and I think it's the reason why the two of you, I mean, I would assume that the two of you are, I think you two are I don't think you guys haven't had another partner prior to the two of you. You guys have been there forever. I mean, are the two of you, you're each other's first love?
So I only ever had one other boyfriend besides John. What do you want to share?
And if I'm stepping on the third rail, I can always, this is not
no,
live.
no,
I can cut all of this.
I mean, so we had known each other for a long time. We had been in a sort of close environment a long time, but as you had, alluded to earlier, a lot of people thought that we were romantically involved much before we were. We didn't officially get together until I was already out of high school. So
Yeah.
Okay.
So there were other things that happened between.
Right. Yes. Yeah. For both of us. So.
One question that I've asked, also the couples that we had earlier, Julie Kowabara and Chuck, has there been, has theater strengthened the relationship, or has it, I know a lot of times, we look at theater and love and two people being on stage together and how wonderful or how romantic it can be, but also can be trying. I mean, it can really test a relationship. And especially the two of you who co-found a company together, have there been rough times, or how do you deal with the rough times as far as working together? Like, I don't know, there have been a lot of ladies that I've had in my life. They're like, oh my God, you're doing a Q to Q and you're not going to be in until, 12 midnight, what's going on? And are you making any money? And they don't really understand why theater is so important to me. And sometimes what I do on the theater, whether it's an actor, as a stage manager or whatever, can be taxing on a relationship. Have there been times where it's been taxing, and how do you guys deal with it?
Do you want to handle that one?
Well, sure. Anything has the potential to tax a relationship. I mean, that's just the nature of how relationships work. Is there's so many intersection points with so many other things in life, with work, with hobbies, with other relationships, with friendships, with other family relationships. There's so many different things that come into play when you're trying to connect two separate individuals into a single life together. I think sort of the way that I look at it, as far as having something as time consuming and resource consuming as theater, being a part of the relationship, especially because even before we started Plethos, Karin was involved in some shows like Berkeley Playhouse and such. And the way that I see it is, if she were interested in this creative outlet for something that she was interested in for some amount of like sort of creative fulfillment, if I were to oppose that because I wanted to, because it was going to take her away from the house and away from, spending time with her. If I was going to take that fulfillment away from her, it's my responsibility to essentially replace it with something else. And if I'm unable to do that, then I've left her at a deficit.
Wow, that's a great point. That's a really good point.
And it helps me out as well, because it takes that pressure off of me. This is something, this means that I don't have to. If I can encourage her to do something where she's going to find fulfillment, I mean, nobody is going to ever be able to 100% satisfy another human being. It's not possible to do that. And if that's sort of your standard for life, you're going to fail. So if I can find something that is a seamless kind of way to fold that into the relationship, simply by supporting her in doing something, then that's a level of satisfaction that I don't have to provide for her. So that, if you use the 80-20 rule, if I allow that to fill some of the 20 that I'm not able to provide, then it makes me able to more concentrate on the 80 that I can do.
Yeah. One question I have for you, Karin, how has Plethos either enhanced or challenged the relationship between the two of you?
I have told people in private conversations and now in public that I genuinely feel like Plethos perhaps saved our marriage, perhaps was a huge catalyst in our marriage. It's been, for me, like, yes, it is. There's times that it's taxing. There's, weekends where we work ourselves to death and we wake up early and we stay up late and we're exhausted and sore and bruised and cut up from set building or whatever. Like, it's taxing, but it was exactly what we needed. I think prior to that, I know that I literally go into remission when I'm not doing theater. Like, I go into withdrawal rather. Like I crave doing theater. There were times when our kids were like little, and I just couldn't be involved in theater. I would have dreams about being in plays because I was not able to do it. So I would like have these dreams, the actor's nightmare, where you wake up and you're on stage and it's opening night and you don't know any of your lines and you don't know where your costume is and all this stuff. Like, I would have these recurring dreams because I was trying to not do theater. And so I know that it's in me, like, to do theater, and having tried to sort of stop it for a while and just focus on kids and family and stuff, it was hard. And so to me, I kind of see it as it's going to be hard one way or another. Either I'm going to not do theater and it's going to be hard, or I'm going to do theater and it's also going to be hard. So yeah. I prefer the creative outlet and being exhausted and, throw some Band-Aids on and can't wait till the next show opens.
I want to touch on the that period of trying not to do theater, because I remember making that decision at one point. I'm like, that's what I did when I was a kid. I'm done with that. I'm going to get out and be serious.
Yep.
And even when I moved to the Bay Area, I thought, I'm going to take a pause. I don't know if and when I'm going to do any more theater. And it was like 8 months. And somebody gave me a call. Oh, so-and-so said that you did theater. Yep. I was back in. That's the longest I think I've been in my life since high school outside of theater.
I was going to ask.
A period where you were just like, no theater, can't do it.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I was just going to ask how's it been with the kids? I mean, are they enjoying, the life of being kids of theater parents? Are they eventually going to be involved on stage? Maybe you have budding actors in the future.
That's right. Yeah. They've actually been in plays already, not with Plethos yet, but at Three Crosses, they do huge productions there. Thousands of people come to watch these like fully staged performances, which are amazing. So I did a couple of those, and I brought the kids in with me. So they each were in a major like Christmas production, and then all three of us were in Beauty and the Beast that was at Three Crosses, and Jon was helping out backstage for that show as well. So, and then this summer, they will make their Plethos debut. Both the kids will be in Elephant and Piggie.
Nice. Really cool. How is it balancing parenting with, with I guess, handling, Plethos, especially when you guys are in a production?
So I'm mostly gone when we're in a production. So that's a Jon question.
I mean, it's no different than, from that aspect, it's no different than, if she were out doing anything else. It does get a little bit tricky when we get closer to showtime.
Like the Q2Qs and Paper Tech and that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Especially for, a lot of the shows I've done sound, and, when we're building sets, when we're doing the tech stuff, and when the shows go up, we've both been at every performance.
Yeah, so when we're both needed, that's the trickiest part.
Yeah. I guess that childcare comes in. I should say both of you kids are very well behaved. I mean, you guys have done an excellent job at child rearing.
Thank you. It's really sweet how proud they are. Like JL, I've heard her bragging to her friends, like, my mom owns a theater company, and like she's very proud, and I know that they enjoy when it's performance time and they get to be backstage, and they've made some really cute connections with the actors, especially because at 10 and 8 they are actually closer in age to some of the actors than we are, and so there have been some awkward moments where they're like, you play that video game, I play that video game, and then next thing you know they're playing. So
no, that's awesome. I did have a question about because I know the only way that I can relate to working with a relative or let's say a close person while doing business, and it also involves arts, like me and my dad, prior to me getting involved in theater, when I graduated from college, I stayed away from theater and I was only involved in music. And me and my dad are very close, but a lot of times we would clash professionally. Like I'd say, hey, we should do this music, or I wrote this thing and we're not producing it. What's going on? And of course, dad was the leader of the group. And so sometimes we bumped heads, but we also knew how to patch things together. I'm sure the two of you go through that as well. Let's say selecting a piece, let's say auditions. And let's say Jon may like a person, you may not like the person, or you have different concepts of what to do. How do you mesh that with also, it's one of those things of taking off one hat of being professional and also putting on the hat of being in a relationship and being loving and caring to one another. Some people can do that with ease. Some people have a really hard time with it. I'm sure you two of you clash professionally sometimes, as all people do. How do you mesh that with still holding on to the relationship?
Well, luckily we have a great board of directors that helps with a lot of that, so that no decision is just me or just him or, just somebody else. We try to make, whenever there's things like that we just can't quite figure out, especially with 2020 and 2021, really, we had to make a lot of really hard decisions. Do we try to go live? Do we not? Do we stream? Do we not? How do we deal with the safety issues that we've never had to encounter before? And some theaters are just shuttering and not dealing with it. And others are going, no, we're going to go head on one way or another. So there were a lot of hard decisions, but thankfully our board helps with a lot of that. But, there are times where, we're different. I love musicals. I think Jon would be just fine in a world where musicals weren't a thing. So that's going to be an ongoing thing. Currently, the hot topic issue is Waitress. Right now, Waitress is not it's not available to put on for like licensing and rights. But I'm on the wait list because as soon as it's available, I want Plethos to put it on, and Jon hates it. So we'll see what happens. There's going to be some tug of war over Waitress.
Is Waitress a musical? I'm not familiar with it.
It's a musical.
Yeah.
I guess I'll be hearing about it. Jon, I'll ask you this question, both of you, but I'll start with Jon. That also deals with finances, like where to put the money and where to how to handle that. So how do you? And I think Plethos has done an excellent job. I mean, there have been a lot of theater companies that are new. They blow, let's say, I don't know, a couple of $1,000s, and then the money's gone and that's it. It's folded. But Plethos has done very, very well. But I'm sure those are conversations that the two of you have. How have you, has there been any difficulty with that, or is that something the board also handles as well?
We have an amazing treasurer. She has done a fantastic job of making sure we are never out over our skis. We have always bitten everything off in really small chunks. We limit the amount of things that we finance. We try to concentrate on purchases. If we can't purchase it, we try to come up with a reason why we don't need it. There have been things that we've had to finance, and we make sure that the payments for those things are top priority. So if that means not spending, elsewhere, it resets your sort of priority list, and what you think you might need, you probably actually don't need.
Put in a lot of sweat equity so that we don't have to spend.
It's also really concentrating on sort of our sustainability model is kind of based a little bit off of things that we can reuse. Resources that we can purchase one time and use every single show.
That makes for a very cluttered garage, because you guys don't have
We have a storage unit now, though.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
We got a storage unit. So thankfully, but now don't ask how our garage looks, because it is still just as messy as always. But we do have a storage unit, which is also full. So yeah.
Well, that's good, because obviously, especially with theater and also your own private life, a lot of times they merge, and all of a sudden it's like, well, I've got to put the set here, and that it disrupts what you can do as a family. But it sounds like the two of you don't argue over money, and like, oh my God, we got to spend $1,000. I got to whip out the credit card. It sounds like you guys don't have arguments like that.
No, I mean, in our private marriage, we're not in debt, and we've made sure to keep Plethos the same way. So we don't have these crazy credit card bills that are, racking things up. The financial model of Plethos was crowdfunding. So we raised $5,000 with an Indiegogo campaign in over the course of 30 days in 2017. And then we just took some calculated risks. We used that 5,000 and put everything we had into putting on our show, our In the Heights in the summer of 2018. And we got the bank account down to almost nothing, but we, got it all back and then some. And we're like, great, let's just keep doing that. And so that was really all we did. Was it took a tremendous amount of risk on the front end, but now we're at a place where we've been able to build up reserves. And so we have money to put into multiple shows, and we're not wiping it out the bank. We're not wiping the bank account clean every time. So that's felt really good to feel like there's stability there. We're not in debt. And, the biggest thing has been we don't have a dedicated space. So unlike a lot of other theaters that during this pandemic have unfortunately just been shelling out money on a venue that they can't utilize, we've basically just been able to maintain because, we weren't able to bring in a bunch of money for live shows, but we weren't
you still there?
money on a venue.
Oh, yeah.
So for us, it was just a holding pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's just a holding pattern, and then we got some grants. So our biggest grant yet was a $6,000 grant we just got from the Alameda County Arts.
Yeah, I heard about that. That's fantastic. You're breaking up just a little bit, bandwidth issues, but no, that's fantastic. And the business model is totally working. You guys are still there?
I'm not sure. They may have to come back. We can just see if they're coming back.
Yeah. You may need to.
No, I'm curious. So while we're waiting to see, I'm curious to see where Plethos goes next. What they see, that next step as, and it's hard to say. I mean, I guess the first question would be, how are they dealing now in the pandemic, and do they see a light at the end of the tunnel? One question I
have for you as they come back on. We still are getting you, Karin and Jon. Okay, they're going to log off and they're going to log back on. Right. But you, throughout the years, Norman, you've seen young companies, and of course, they always have the bold ideas. Oh, we're going to do great theater. We're going to do this and that. And then a couple of years later, they're gone.
Right.
How do you assess Plethos? I mean, obviously, we've had a wonderful experience with them with Foreman in Paris, but maybe I've been so impressed with Karin and how she's handled the publicity and really using social media to grow.
She's definitely savvy about that. The thing is, seeing companies come and go, sometimes you see brilliant ideas and something happens and they don't sustain. Sometimes you see ideas that you aren't crazy about or you don't understand why anybody cares. And they go for 20 years or longer. They find their way. So I think all companies start off with some sort of generic mission of, we're going to make great theater. We're going to make, somehow our theater is unique. And there may be ways that they choose, but in order to get to that, past that first stage of growth, I think more than having an identity is having that passion. If you connect both up so that somebody, there she is.
Yep, they're coming back.
Okay, sorry about that.
We were singing your praises as we were, we were just talking as you guys were logging back on.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. No, it's all good. But we were just saying how impressed, because, Norman has been, I've only been in the Bay Area since 97. That's 20 years. But Norman has been a lot longer, and he's seen a lot of young companies come in and out, and they all say the same thing. We're going to do great things, and then the money runs out, and then they just crash. But,
I was saying both. I was saying it's hard to assess because you can see people with brilliant ideas, and for one reason or another, they go nowhere. And then you see other people, and they just figure out something that works. And I may not be thrilled. Like there was Thrill Peddlers for the longest time was very focused on, what is it called? Grand Guignol. This blood and guts theater. That was their thing. Yeah. So always a big Halloween show, always... And it went on for like a couple of decades. And I was like, when that first happened, I thought that was cute. And then they did it again. And I was like, oh, wow, yeah, you guys are really skilled. And then they kept doing it. And I was like, who wants to see this? I mean, just not me. But clearly people did. People supported it. And it was thriving. And after a while, you realize they're making good theater. I don't have to be in love with it. And you just don't know. But even more than that are the people who do come into those companies. And whatever happens to the company, to watch them continue, it's exciting to be around and see somebody around for 5 years and go, Hey, let's keep pace. Let's keep going.
Yeah, and you've done a magnificent job, Corinne, of just handling social media, because theaters just can't put out a little blurb saying, hey, we've got a show going on, and you do the show and you just expect people to come in because you're in competition with so many other theater companies that are doing the same thing. You have to master Twitter and Snapchat and Instagram and all of the new things, TikTok and all of that stuff. And I think you've done it. I mean, I think, and it's a struggle for a lot of other theater companies. I mean, we talked about Off-Broadway West that had been run, I think, maybe for the last 15 years, but they are no longer in existence because, they couldn't bring in new audiences. So I think Plethos has done an amazing job mastering this new technology, which is changing as we speak.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like social media is one of those arts that I'm still trying to learn. I'm still trying to improve. You can always get better. And so I'm trying because I know that there's a population of young folks in the East Bay with nothing to do, money to spend, and ready to absorb some art. So I just want to make sure our message gets out to them. So I try to learn as much as I can about how to get our message to them as best as possible.
Yeah. I only had just a few more questions and we're running close to the 1 hour mark. We talked with Chuck and Julie Kawabara, and we talked about, let's say you get a phone call, and I know, Corinne, the both of you have been out of being on stage for a while, but you may get that proverbial phone call, hey, we want you in LA, we want you in New York, or something that may take you away. I mean, have you had those instances where, let's say, an opportunity may disrupt the family or what have you? But the answer may be no.
There haven't been any major ones. I mean, probably the biggest disruption was, when I was in the Berkeley Playhouse show, that I was working 40 hours a week, and then I was doing 40 hours of the show. So I was gone 80 hours a week. And so I was just never around. And so that was definitely the biggest, like when I think about, what I wanted so that was years before I started Plethos. And so when I did start it, I thought, that was an amazing experience and the show turned out incredible, but that was more than I was able to balance. Like, to me, the balance was way off. I was just never home. And so I'm like, even when we start this theater company, there has to be balance. I can't do, 7-day-a-week rehearsals. I can't do all day, every day, weekends and weekends on end forever and ever. It's just, it has to be shorter. It has to fit into our lives. And so that is something that I've taken really seriously with when we schedule out our shows, is just, we don't do the 3 months of performances. We keep them short, and we don't rehearse 7 days a week. We don't have full days, full weekends, months on end. We keep it quite short, just so that it's not a huge intrusion into our lives. And but if the, hypothetically, if some big acting or performing opportunity came up, at this point, I feel confident. I would just be like, nope, Plethos is what I want to do. Sorry, LA, New York is going to have to wait. This is everything right now.
Yeah, but it can also happen on the other end. Let's say the day job. Let's say, John, you may get a call from, I don't know, either your office or another office saying, hey, we love your skills. We want you to work in, I don't know. There are a lot of folks who, I was looking, there was another thing that happened in the news. The electoral college will be changing in 2024, and because people are leaving. People are leaving California. People are leaving to go to the Midwest.
Yeah.
There's Tulsa, Oklahoma. They're actively campaigning in California, saying, "Hey, come take a job here. We'll pay you $10,000 to relocate."
Yep.
So you may get the proverbial, "Yeah, they're doing it. I don't know if I want to." I mean, it sounds like a great incentive, but do you want to live in Tulsa? I don't know.
I do not want to live in Tulsa.
I wouldn't mind, actually, but
nothing against you, Tulsa. Nothing personal. It's just, I've been there before, and no, I wouldn't want to live there.
Well, I'm a big Hanson fan, and Tulsa is Hanson headquarters, so I have no problem. If we need to go to Tulsa, me, Hanson, we'll hang out. Great.
But John, let's say you get a call from, I don't know, hey, we want to relocate you to Dallas, Texas, or something like that. It'll rip you away from the Bay Area community, and it may change Plethos. I mean, what if that were to happen?
I mean, it would be just a situation where I'd have to take into consideration all of the aspects at the time. And a really lame answer, but it's hard to answer hypotheticals sometimes. But
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
Plethos actually has pre-Plethos. It would have been an easier decision. Post with Plethos as a thing, especially as we have an interest in trying to acquire a permanent space,
Right.
and
Yeah.
if we're able to do that, then we we have our home here. We have our kids have friendships here. We have friendships here. If we had a theater here, I mean, those are roots.
Right.
Um, you don't just pull those up. So
Yeah, yeah, because it really is about the community, and it's one of the things that we emphasize on the Yay. It's not just putting up a show, but theater is really about growing the community
yeah,
and defining and refining the community, especially when you do have people people who move away. That disrupts the community, and then you have new people who are like, hey, what is California? What is the Bay Area? What is Oakland? What is it? And then they go to a show, let's say a Plethos show, and they're like, oh wow, this is interesting. And it's not just the show, but people having fun, people enjoying themselves, and it's like, wow, this is something that I can't get anywhere else. So one last question: where do you see yourselves in the future and Plethos, let's say 5 or 10 years from now? I know it's yet another hypothetical, but
that's right. I mean, a dedicated space is probably the biggest thing. Taking our show on the road has been exciting and fun, but it also has cost us a couple of times. There's shows that we would have done if we could have just landed the proper venue for it. So that I think that's the biggest thing is getting a dedicated space. But also, I would love to see us do bigger and bigger shows. We've kept them pretty small because we've had that financial piece in mind of like, we can't blow the bank. We have to be mindful. We have to be sustainable. So let's do these small and attainable shows. But I'm excited to kind of push the gas a little more and go bigger and better and really take what we are capable of doing to the next level now that we've had years to acquire more equipment and expand our network. And who knows, maybe we will get to the point where we can actually hire equity actors. So far, it's just been community actors, which is great and I love to do. And I think that's always going to be.
Know that whole talent pool.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I think community will always be a part of it. There will always be roles for community actors, but I think having a couple of equity positions would be really great too. And we're also zero staff. We don't make any money. We don't have any kind of staff that are paid for Plethos. Everything we do is on a show to show basis, but eventually it would be great to have some support staff that are hired people. Like I would love to create some jobs. So.
Sounds good. One last thing, any advice that the two of you have for, let's say, a new budding individuals who want to get involved in theater and couples who are, in love, and advice for a couple that's been together for 14 years.
All that together, damn.
Yeah, well, one last thing. What advice for someone who, 14 years, that's a lot. You guys are a veteran couple. What advice do you have for young lovers out there?
I always fall back on communication. I think that's one of the things that has been strong in our marriage is you have to be able to talk openly and honestly, and really if you approach it from that, a lot of the other stuff will fall in. You'll just figure it out because it's going to be the two of you working together to make the decisions and to make the things work. But if both of you aren't talking, then one of you ends up making all the decisions, and one of you feels stepped on and that kind of thing. So the only way to make sure that it's both of you is you both have to be participating.
Yeah, I don't know how this ghosting generation is gonna fare. Like that's not gonna work. Like
right.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like that can't last long.
No. And I think my only advice I'd say was just like living your life with somebody, like sharing your existence with another human. It's possible with anyone. Like you can make it work with anyone. Every issue you encounter is just something that needs to be dealt with. And so as long as you find somebody worth dealing with, as long as you know that core of that person is worth figuring it out, then you can make it work with anyone. It's just the only thing that's going to change are the problems that you're going to encounter. But as long as you're willing to put in the work, then it's just boxes that you check, and there's just steps you take. And as long as you're willing to be patient and open-minded, then I think it's possible. You don't have to, pull your hair out because I don't know if he's exactly perfect or she's exactly the one. Like, I think anyone can be the one as long as you're both willing to do the work. So
you're saying I'm not special. It's mostly about the work that you're doing.
The work we're both doing, darling.
Yeah.
There you go. No, that's excellent advice. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on, and let's get into.
And don't forget the Valentine's Day challenge. So we're gonna breeze through these really fast because
go for it.
Hashtag. No, we got 1 minute. 1 minute. Okay. Hashtag Valentine's Day challenge 2021. There's all these little prompts. Okay. So we've got first date. First date. We saw a movie. It was in 2001. It was Rat Race. That was our first date. We saw Rat Race
wow.
at Century 25 in Union City.
We need to do some research and pick a different movie.
I know, right? We'll make up a better answer. How long have we been together? So we first started dating in the fall of 2001. So, oh my God.
Ah, nice.
Wow. September 11th. During that catastrophe, you guys met.
We did. We have concert tickets with September 11th date on them.
Weezer.
Wow.
Yeah.
We were supposed to see Weezer on September 11th.
Yeah, and they canceled the concert after what happened. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. We talked married. We've been 14 years. Age difference. Well, I'm forever 29, so.
So I guess the age difference is growing, which is weird.
No, I think you get to keep pace, right? You just keep pace with her.
No, I have no interest in what would that would have made me forever 32.
I believe that.
He's 3 years older than I am. Who was interested first?
Wow.
That was me.
Okay.
Who's taller?
We're about the same height, actually.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, kind of.
A little bit. Who said I love you first?
That one's always a good one.
Got to be John. I'm going to guess John.
Know.
That was John.
Was it me?
Yeah, it was you.
Okay.
And it was at our church, actually.
Usually the man.
Most impatient. Ooh.
Depends on what.
That one's not
easy.
It depends on what it's about. We are both very patient about some things and very impatient about others.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I don't know. That's a hard one. I'm not sure.
I feel like a lot of couples are like instantly. You.
Well,
we talk through so many things.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We're both pretty patient people, I think. Who's most sensitive? That's definitely me. Yeah.
Aww.
Who's loudest?
Both of you are about the same.
I'm about the same.
It's a house full of extroverts here.
Plus we're both trained in diaphragmatic breathing and use it often to project our voice to fill a room.
Yeah. So. If he's not yelling at the kids, I'm singing. So between the two of them, it's just always.
Yeah, I was going to ask who's the good cop, bad cop, because I would think Karin's the good and John would be the bad cop. I mean, not that you have to discipline your kids, all the time because they're so wonderful.
Oh, I think that's about right.
That's about right.
That's what the kids would say.
Yeah, that's definitely what the kids would say.
That's so mean to me.
Yeah.
Most stubborn. That's all John.
I'll take it.
That's John.
I'll take it.
He's more stubborn. I'm more of I'm sure we can figure this out. John's just like, no. Who falls asleep first? Oh, that's me. I go to bed early. And John's like a vampire now. He stays up till I don't know what time. I go to bed. Who cooks better? Oh, that's John.
Really?
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
That's shocking.
Especially during work from home, man.
Yeah.
But now that I've got all day to cook, I could spend 5 hours on a rack of ribs. Oh yeah.
Way to slow cook using our oven over the course of 4 days. He would do it.
I would do it.
Otherwise, I'm like, if it's been 40 minutes, it's too long. I'm not doing this anymore. Yeah. Better morning person? That's me. I wake up, hit the ground running. John. If he wakes up at all,
You shouldn't ask me questions before noon.
It's true. Better driver. John's going to say him, except he's hit more things. So I'm going to say me.
And that's when I think most couples disagree on.
Yeah.
I loved an answer I saw. It's like, if you mean in a drive a Model T kind of way.
Now, are either of you a backseat driver or a side, like you're sitting on the side seat and you're like, no, go there, go there. What are you doing? No?
If either of us is, it's me.
I just pump the invisible brake because I'm like, why is he going so fast? We're so close. You don't know how many accidents I prevent. I'm like, they're stopping.
I've never hit another car, so
He's hit poles.
My wife grabs for the non-existent handle.
Yeah, right.
I keep seeing this, and I'm like, "What are you reaching for? Oh my God,
Right.
I'm just hurting."
that's funny.
Most competitive, that's definitely John. I'm not a competitive person. I'm like, can we all win? Can we all get trophies? Like, I'm not.
I would say you're a competitive person, Karin.
Funniest, I guess. The kids would say John because he's the silliest. So
I don't know. During the Fammies, you were pretty good, Karin. I got to see as much of a performance for you. I mean, you're doing pretty good.
Thank you. Where do you eat out most as a couple? Oh,
We
kind of go Top Thai just because we live a few houses down from Top Thai, so we're there pretty frequently.
Nice.
do JP's a lot.
Yeah, JP's. We're there a lot. Who's more social? Me. John is like, pandemic, stay home and not see people. Don't mind if I do.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Yay.
Whereas I'm just like crawling the walls, and this poor guy has to deal with me because I'm just pulling my hair out because I need to. I literally just like walked with my neighbor walking her dog just to get human interaction.
Yep.
Yeah. Who's the neat freak? We need one.
I don't think we have a neat freak.
No. John just wants everything out so he can see it. Like, as long as I can just see everything, I know where it is. So then, whereas I'm like, just throw it anywhere so that it looks kind of neat. But I
don't know. The room is looking pretty clean. I mean, that's a. I don't see. The bed is even made up.
Oh yeah, look at that. Boom.
I would say I wouldn't call either of us a neat freak. I would say I am neater because I actually believe that everything has a place to be put and should be put away.
Isn't that an amazing concept?
She just thinks that like if it fits, that's its place. I'm like, no, that's not how that works.
Oh my gosh, there's a little more of these than I thought. Okay, first kiss. Where was the first kiss? Oh, it was in our friend's car. It was in the backseat of our friend's car.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, Chris. Yeah. Who plans date nights? We used to take turns. Yeah. You should sometimes.
It's kind of a we thing.
Yeah. The first to admit they're wrong. Probably me. I think I apologize constantly.
Yeah. It still hasn't happened yet for me.
Right. Who wears the pants in the relationship? Well, during quarantine, neither of us wear much pants. Actually, he tends to wear more pants than I do. Who cries more? Oh, I'm in a constant state of tears, especially during the pandemic. I'm surprised I made it through this interview, really. Who has more tattoos? We're both at 0.
Yeah, you know him.
Oh, okay. And who spends the most money? We're both really cheap.
Yeah.
We're very cheap people.
I mean, neither of us is going to cop to this.
I buy more frequently. I do all the buying for our house. So I'm
just based on like
sheer transactions.
Doing the shopping.
Probably me.
Yeah.
We went to the same school when we went to Logan. Oh, yeah. And furthest we've traveled is Israel. And who drives? We both drive. So, okay. Valentine's Day challenge done. Sorry.
Nice. Thank you. Yeah. And this is a challenge, and people will be logging on to the Yay to get the answers from Karin and Jon. So that's a nice little tie-in. So very, very cool. Birthdays. Norman.
Birthdays. A woman. It's so funny. I want to say a young woman. A woman I went to high school with. So clearly not a young woman. But we did theater in high school. Sue Lim is her birthday today. I'm going to skip some because I think you may have them. Ian Walker I'm definitely going to take because he's my buddy and it's his birthday.
Ian. Yeah.
Yeah. And Baruch Porras Hernandez. I think it's the first time I've ever said his name all the way. And we've known each other forever. He's an amazing theater artist in the Mission District now. And we met doing a playwrights selection committee. Danny Martin, amazing, wonderful, fun actor, really giving guy. Luis Valls, somebody I went to San Francisco State with. His birthday is this coming this week. He always has barbecues. He lives like 2 blocks from Ocean Beach, and he has barbecues for his birthday. This is the best weather ever for his birthday. Normally it is,
Kidding.
you're sitting out there freezing. Ah, but he always, he's been doing it since we were in college. Uh, I will skip that one because I bet you have it. Jeff Dunn is a producer, I want to call him. They actually, he and his wife Susan have a theater company in Alameda, and they do readers, mostly readers theater. Incredible stuff. Jim Kleinman is in Hawaii. His birthday is this week. He is the executive director of Playground SF. I got a couple more. Ngayo Bellum is somebody I went to high school with, and he calls himself the big rock. What is it? The big chocolate mountain of joy. He's always been a big, large man. He went into comedy out of college, and most of the time you know somebody like that, and you're like, well, that's cool. We graduated like 30 years ago, and this man has a beautiful career in comedy.
Oh.
I've always been so like, wow, I can't believe I saw somebody do that. Craig Niebauer went to San Francisco State with as well, his birthday. His claim to fame these days is that he is the dad of triplets. I'm like, holy cow. And I will not do my final one because I know, Reg, you have it.
Well, you already took some, like Danny Martin. Danny and I were on stage. We did 110 in the Shade at the Douglas Morrison Theater, where I was Bill Starbuck, and he played a cruel character, which is tough on him because he's such a nice guy.
He's a sweetie. Yeah.
He is a sweetie. Gary Graves' birthday is today. He is the co-artistic director of Central Works. He is 65. Some folks don't put their age on there, but Gary's looking really good at 65. He really takes care of himself. His birthday is today. Happy birthday, Gary. Also, a good friend of mine, his wife, Joanne Lorenzana Blauer, her birthday is tomorrow. She's actually a Philippine actress and actually cut a bunch of records during the 80s. She was pretty big stuff in the Philippines. And then she came to America, fell in love with Brant Blauer, and he and I acted in The Marriage of Bette and Boo. And he's a talented guitarist, and so I want to give a birthday shout out to his wife. Her birthday's tomorrow. You mentioned Danny Martin also tomorrow. Ava Tong, who is heavily involved in, I think, Bindlestiff. It's someone that I've never met, but I've seen her on Facebook. Also tomorrow, Rachel Dethridge. I also acted with her. We did Candide, my one and only time doing an opera. And she has an amazing voice. And we also did it on the DMT that was directed by Michael Muhammad. And I forget who the musical director, we had him on. I forget his name. But in any case, Rachel Dethridge, her birthday is on Valentine's Day, the 14th. On Monday, Jonathan Rice Williams, I think you saved that for me.
Yep. I did.
He is the artistic director of Tabard Theater, and we had him on, and he was very, very gracious with his time. You mentioned Jim Kleinman, whose birthday is on Monday. Let's see. On Wednesday, Richard Wenzel. I've done a lot of work with the Playwright Center for San Francisco, and Richard Wenzel, he's one of the regular actors there. He's a fantastic guy, and I want to get him on his birthday is Wednesday. Also Wednesday, Paul Plain. Paul Plain is an actor. I acted with him in Women on the Verge of Nervous Breakdown. That was at the Town Hall Theater. Fantastic actor, really tall guy. He's like 6'5", I think.
Yep.
And the last one that I have, I know we're running a little long, Kim Donovan. The incredible Kim Donovan. And she is a veteran actress, and I just can't wait to see her on stage again. She of course was in Foreman in Paris. She was also in All the Way, which was at the CCCT. I think she played Lady Bird Johnson. Stage Kiss. She's done a bunch of stuff. So that's what I have. Let's do some shows. Karin, do you want to promote anything? What's up next for Plethos? Oh, they're gone. I think they're going. I think they're going to log back on. Norman, do you have any shows you want to advertise?
No.
I do have a few. I'm sure they'll log back on. I'm sure they will.
I would hope they would. No, I was gonna. No,
So
I don't have a show to promote now.
Priya Gayadeen, who of course was our
Oh,
Velvet, and
Priya!
she's been heavily involved with Plethos stuff. She has a Valentine's comedy gig, which will be tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard, 5 p.m. our time, and there is a Facebook link, and I will send that to folks.
Cool. Did you get to do? Didn't she do a bit for them before performance?
She's been doing a lot of comedy things. Plethos has had a bunch of Friday Zoom performances, and Priya has been doing a lot of comedy, which is something. It's a personality that I've never seen from her before, and she did pretty good. Matter of fact, she did a bit.
Sense of humor.
Yeah, she had a bit. She did a bit for when they did the Family Awards. Oh, okay. So I'm glad. So Lamont Rigel. So we're getting a lot of posts from individuals who want to talk about certain subjects or whatever. We're not going to get into because we're running long anyway. But Lamont Rigel is an author, and he has he's written a book called Hidden in the Shadows. He says my first two books are. Our internet keeps going out. So sorry. Okay, so that's Karin and Jon.
Okay.
Lamont has two books that's hit Audible. They're both love stories set in the sexy world of shapeshifters, and there's the sometimes sexy world of high school. Okay, it's joy working with the authors and gaining. Oh no, he didn't write it. I'm sorry. He is a narrator for it. Okay, I'm glad I got that cleared up. But so in any case, that's his gig that he's doing, and I'll put a link for that.
And we've got a link to it. Cool. Oh, yep. And Playground, of course. Playground Monday Night Playground is Monday. 7:00.
Are you directing?
I am not.
Okay.
Gosh, what is the theme? The theme is lore. Like sort of, and it was very specific. We asked the writers to discuss what their culture or what their lore would be. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of great, not just take some generic, history of some culture, but how do you really connect to it?
We have Karin and Jon back.
6 pieces that are talking about that. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
So sorry.
It's okay, and we just want to say goodbye. We finished the thing. I wanted to ask: is Plethos? Are there any upcoming shows that you wanted to advertise?
So right now we are in audition mode. So that's the biggest thing is if anybody would like to audition for either of our main stage shows for 2021, now's the time. We're accepting video submissions now through March 31st. So we're looking for 2 singer, dancer, actors for Elephant and Piggie. And then for our fall show, which will be Chinglish by David Henry Wong, we need 7 actors. So especially if you know any that speak Mandarin, there are a couple of English only roles in that show, but most of them require Mandarin speaking. So if you know any Mandarin speakers, please send them my way. We're definitely looking for them to audition for Chinglish. But the next show that audience members can enjoy is we'll have a stand-up comedy show Saturday, March 20th. And that's what she said. 5 female comics are going to make us laugh on Zoom. So
cool. And if you can send me the link, I'll post it on our link when I post the yay, so that people can just click on it.
Is Priya going to be on that?
Yeah, we were singing the praises of Priya. She has a Valentine's Day show tomorrow, and she's doing a lot of comedy sketches for Plethos for the Zoom stuff.
That's right. Priya's done such an amazing job. I just saw her perform live at an outdoor venue just last week. She's great. She was on our lineup last summer. And so we tried to give people a good year before we bring them back on, just so that our audiences are always seeing new people. So she's not on the lineup for That's What She Said, but we might see her in other capacities. And we're hoping that as live performances hopefully become a thing, we might have some pop-up shows and some other stuff we add. And I'm sure Priya will be a part of that. So
yeah, no, it's awesome. And it's a personality that I've never seen from her, and it was really cool. It was good seeing her on she was on the Fammies, and she has a thing tomorrow. Facebook.com/JeffreyWeinstein1 post. I'll post that all up. But she's one of these folks who got her start at Plethos, and so it's wonderful.
That's right. Yep.
Did the two of you enjoy being on the A?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so fun. Thank you so much for having us. Really, really nice.
It's always great talking to you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great seeing you. And as always, we want to thank everyone who is watching or listening to the Yay. We're on Facebook. But we're also on YouTube. So please like and subscribe, hit that button, and tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like. I'm noticing people are posting subject matters that they want the EA to talk about on Facebook, you can also do the same thing on YouTube. Kim Donovan, she wanted us to talk about.
Wait a minute. Okay, I was going to say, you can't just throw that out there and not give us a tease. Tell us.
Yeah, I know. Well, Kim Donovan had a little, and I'll be really, really quick. The amount of people who have checked in on me because this post is huge. She's basically talking about work is scarce, and I have friends who are being asked to bid on creative projects. And basically, people are, I guess, companies are underbidding creatives, basically trying to get the lowest, the cheapest, I guess, individuals. I know employers are feeling the strain as well, but there's a kindness inherent in, I have this much money to pay someone for this project who can work this much, and then hiring based on resumes or pitches. Am I missing something? The bidding culture feels extra harsh right now in the arts. It's a dangerous game anyway, but dang. So we'll talk about that next week.
We're going to throw that out there.
Because we're running out of time. And also, Josh Whedon. Josh Whedon he's a Hollywood promoter.
Oh, Lordy.
There's all sorts of things about women's issues, but people are finding things to talk about, and this is the forum for the EA, so you can post.
Wait a minute, they want us to talk about Josh. We could talk about Josh Whedon. But...
Well, it can sometimes bleed into theater and how we treat people of color, and also women.
Yes, so I will happily give a report back because I am on a diversity, diversity, inclusiveness, equity committee with more than one organization trying to help them craft some anti-racism statements. And that's real.
Awesome. Very, very good.
A lot of places are doing it right now. So I'll definitely happily give an update on that next time.
Yeah. So whatever you want to talk about, let us know on either Facebook or on YouTube. You may be listening to this on your podcast app. We're on all podcast apps. We're on Spotify. If you're an Android user, you can use the SoundCloud app or just go on soundcloud.com. And that's basically it. The EA was created by theater people for theater people. If you have a show you want to advertise, or if you just want to advertise yourself, let us know. Hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'm at Reg Space Clay.
And I'm at Hoosier.
Karin and Jon, people can go on plethos.org, but is there also a social media like Twitter or Instagram that people can see what's happening next?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram at Plethos Productions. That's Plethos Productions.
Yay.
Awesome. And we'll put that on the link as well. Thank you so much. Happy Valentine's Day for all of our listeners and everything. And as Norman and I always say, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Black History Month, real quick.
Yes.
Last week, Carter G. Woodson, he's the man who gives us what was Negro Week and became Negro History Week and became Black History Month. That is this man. So, his birthday was this last week.
Carter G. Woodson. All right. Thank you so much. See, we get a history lesson as well. Yes. Thank you for remembering Black History Month. And as Norman and I always say, we gotta find
a better sign off.
And we are out. Happy Valentine's Day, folks.